People who survived serial killers. What actually happened? I was hitchhiking in Oregon back in 2016 when this older guy picked me up. Everything seemed normal until he started asking really specific questions about my family knowing where I was. Then he took a detour into this wooded area, saying it was a shortcut. I noticed a shovel and rope in his back seat and just got this horrible feeling. When he slowed down near this dirt path, I pretended to get a call and loudly said, "Yeah, I'm almost there, just got picked up by a guy in a blue Tacoma. License plate starts with TRK. He freaked out and told me to get out. Found out later they caught him 6 months later with evidence linking him to 3 missing hikers in the area. Was nearly victim number 4 of the campus creeper in Pittsburgh. Guy posed as a maintenance worker in my apartment building. I let him in to fix my sink, and he immediately locked the door behind him. Started acting weird, asking if I lived alone. When he pulled out zip ties from his tool belt, I threw hot coffee in his face and ran. Police caught him 2 weeks later. Turns out he'd already killed 3 female students and had a whole kit of tools and cleaning supplies in his van. Detective later told me they found my picture and address in his plan book. Still can't handle strangers in my home 7 years later. This happened to my aunt in 1977. She was working late at a diner in Washington State when Ted Bundy came in. He was charming, left her a big tip, and asked if she wanted a ride home. She declined because her boyfriend was picking her up. She said Bundy's entire demeanor changed. His face just went completely blank. He left immediately. 2 days later, another waitress who worked at a diner a few miles away disappeared. My aunt recognized him on the news months later and nearly had a breakdown realizing how close she came to. I was 19, working night shift at a gas station outside Houston. This guy came in around 3 a.m., super polite, well-dressed. Asked for directions, then if I could help him load something in his car because of his bad back. I said no because we weren't allowed to leave the counter. He came back the next night, and the night after that. Always with different questions, always trying to get me to come outside. A week later, they found a body behind a gas station 20 miles away. When they caught the guy 2 months later, security footage showed him visiting 3 different gas stations using the same routine. He'd already killed 4 people. Not me, but my mom in the 80s. She was at a bar in Florida when this really handsome guy with his arm in a cast asked for help carrying some books to his VW bug. She was about to go with him when her friend physically grabbed her and said something felt off about him. They left immediately. It was later confirmed to be Ted Bundy, using his famous routine. Mom still gets shaky talking about it. Her friend literally saved her life by trusting her gut feeling. I was jogging in a park in Minneapolis when a police car pulled up beside me. The officer said there had been some attacks in the area and offered me a ride home. Something felt wrong. His uniform looked slightly off, and he was weirdly insistent. I declined and said my boyfriend was meeting me at the next corner, a lie. He drove away, but circled back twice. I sprinted to a crowded area and called actual police. Turns out he wasn't a cop. They caught him a month later after he'd abducted and killed 2 women using the fake cop routine. I still can't go running alone. I delivered pizzas in college. Got a delivery to an industrial area at night. When I arrived, this guy asked me to bring the pizza inside the warehouse because he couldn't leave his workstation. Absolute horror movie scenario, but I was new and didn't want to be rude. As I followed him in, I noticed blood spatter on his shoes. I said I forgot the soda in my car and needed to grab it. Ran straight to my car, locked doors, and called police. They found 3 bodies in that warehouse. Detective later told me they believe I would have been the 4th. I quit that night. My sister narrowly escaped the highway hunter in 2018. She had a flat tire on a back road in rural Arkansas. A truck pulled over to help her. Driver was super friendly, but my sister noticed he was wearing latex gloves on a hot summer day. When he insisted she get in his truck to go buy a new tire, she refused and called our dad instead. Guy got angry, said suit yourself, and left. When they caught him months later, he had the same deliberately puncturing tires of women driving alone on isolated roads, then offering help. They found evidence linking him to 5 murders. In 2013, my friend and I were backpacking through Europe. In Berlin, we met this American guy at our hostel who seemed cool. He invited us to a locals-only bar. My friend went with him, but I stayed behind because I felt sick. My friend texted an hour later saying the bar was closed and the guy was taking her to another place, but the address she sent didn't exist. I called police immediately. They found her drugged in his rental car. Turns out he was connected to 3 missing tourists in Prague and Vienna. She doesn't remember anything, but police said they found enough evidence in his laptop too. I was a bartender in Chicago in the 90s. Had this regular customer for months, quiet, good tipper, always ordered the same drink. One night as I was closing up, he offered me $50 to help him load something into his van. Something about his demeanor changed. I declined and called a coworker to walk me to my car. 2 weeks later, they arrested him. He had killed 4 women in the area, all service workers who had helped him load something after their shifts. Detectives showed me his journal, where he'd written about me numerous times. Still gives me nightmares that I served drinks to a serial killer for months. This happened to my uncle in the 70s. He was hitchhiking in California when John Wayne Gacy picked him up. My uncle said they had a normal conversation until Gacy started talking about tricks he could do with rope and asked if my uncle wanted to see. My uncle got super uncomfortable and asked to be let out at the next gas station. Gacy apparently got really agitated but let him go. Years later, when Gacy was arrested, my uncle saw his picture on TV and nearly passed out. He called the police, but they weren't interested since it happened in a different state than Gacy's known killings. I lived in the same apartment complex as the BTK killer in Wichita. He was the president of our church council and seemed like the most normal guy ever. Once helped me carry groceries to my apartment. My car broke down after church and he offered me a ride home, but something in my gut just screamed, "No." I made up an excuse about waiting for my boyfriend. Found out years later from police that he had actually targeted me and had tools in his car that day. The scariest part, he blended in so perfectly. Was literally the last person anyone would suspect. Still can't trust my judgment of people. I was a college student in Portland working late at the library. This well-dressed guy asked for help finding sociology books about crime statistics. He was articulate, seemed like a grad student. As we went into the stacks, he started asking if anyone knew I was working late, if I parked far away, etc. I lied and said my boyfriend was picking me up in 10 minutes. He immediately lost interest and left. 6 months later, I saw his face on the news. They'd caught him after killing 3 students from neighboring colleges, all attacked in library parking lots. Turns out he was studying their patterns for weeks before. My cousin was almost a victim of the dating app killer in 2019. She met this seemingly perfect guy online, attractive photos, good job, charming messages. They planned to meet at a restaurant, but at the last minute he suggested picking her up instead since it was raining. She declined, saying she'd meet him there. He never showed up. Police arrested him 2 weeks later and found he'd been using dating apps to lure women to remote locations. They found evidence of 3 murders on his property. Detectives said her insistence on meeting in public likely saved her life. I lived next door to Israel Keys for 8 months in Alaska. Seemed like a normal guy who kept to himself. Once helped me jumpstart my car in negative 20-degree weather. The only weird thing was sometimes I'd see him coming home at odd hours looking exhausted, covered in dirt. I assumed he worked construction or something. We had a beer together once, and he asked really strange hypothetical questions about whether I thought people could really disappear without a trace. Found out later he was flying to random cities, burying kill kits, then returning months later to use them. Still can't believe I shared a wall with him. Was almost taken by the woodland stalker in Oregon in 2015. I was hiking alone when this guy asked if I'd seen his lost dog. Asked me to help look in a more remote area. I agreed but texted my location to my sister first and pointedly told him, "Just let my sister know where I'm heading." He immediately backed off and practically ran away. Police caught him a month later. He'd killed 4 solo hikers. When they searched his cabin, they found a detailed journal. One entry mentioned me specifically, potential target aware of location sharing. Too risky. Technology literally saved my life. Not me, but my grandmother in the 70s. She was working late as a nurse when a patient came in with a fake cast, saying he needed help getting to his car. She was about to go help when another nurse stopped her, saying hospital policy required security to assist patients to vehicles after dark. The man immediately left. It was Edmund Kemper, who was actively killing at that time. My grandmother didn't know until years later when she saw his photo in a documentary. The simple hospital policy saved her life. She still tears up talking about the coworker who. I was a bartender in Seattle in 2011. Had this customer who always came in Tuesday nights. Super friendly, good-looking, big tipper. After about 2 months, he asked if I wanted to see his photography studio after my shift. I declined because I was dating someone. He got weirdly angry, left without paying. A week later, police raided his apartment, found evidence linking him to 3 missing women, all service workers who'd gone to see his photography studio. They found a notebook with names of targets, including mine with details about my schedule. I've been serving drinks to a predator for months without knowing. I was nearly a victim of the Green River Killer. I was 16, hitchhiking in Seattle in the early 80s. Gary Ridgway picked me up, seemed normal at first, then started asking if anyone knew where I was if I had family waiting. Said he needed to stop by the river to check something for work. I got a horrible feeling and told him my dad was a cop waiting for me just down the road. He pulled over immediately and told me to get out. Years later, when they caught him, I recognized his face instantly and contacted police. Detective told me I fit his exact victim profile. Still get chills thinking about it. I worked at a gas station in Idaho when the Highway 12 killer was active. This customer came in multiple times over a few weeks, always during my night shifts, always buying the same things: duct tape, plastic sheeting, and energy drinks. Always pay cash. One night he asked when my shift ended and if I needed a ride. I lied and said my boyfriend was picking me up. He left, but I noticed him sitting in his car watching the store for hours. I called police, but they couldn't do anything. 2 months later, they caught him after his 5th victim escaped. I identified him immediately. The detective said I was on his list of potentials.